Hello everyone, welcome to Twilight. If you have anything to say related to the video or notice any issues, let us know in the comments. For now, enjoy the video. What if the Cullens discovered Edward's secret? Emmett POV. All of us stared at the door for a minute before Rosalie broke the silence. That's it. She screamed loudly. What is going on with him? He comes. He goes. He comes. He goes. What is he doing? Because he is certainly not hunting. And it's not just recently. This has been going on for the past 3 years, Rosalie, Esm said. I am sure Edward has a reasonable explanation for not telling us what he is doing. I say we follow him, Alice said, closing her laptop. Much to my surprise, Carlisle agreed. Before we left the house, I changed into a camouflage shirt and pants so Edward wouldn't be able to see me. We waited an hour before we followed his scent so that we would be out of his mind-reading range, and I could not help but sing the Mission Impossible theme song in my head. We had been following his scent for half an hour when it stopped at a beautiful little cabin in the forest. We quietly went up to the window and what we saw was the last thing we were expecting to find. I didn't need Edward's mind-reading ability to know what everyone was thinking. I was sure there were only 3 words. Oh my God, Edward POV. I just arrived at our meeting place. It was a little cabin in the middle of the forest between Seattle and Port Angeles. I'd rebuilt the cabin and my love had decorated it. I walked inside and my mind was overwhelmed with memories of our time together. I walked around the living room, looking at pictures. I picked up the one of my love laying in a meadow surrounded by wildflowers and sat down on the couch and I could not help but think back to the day we met. Flashback. I was hunting up in Canada when I smelled the scent of werewolves and another scent I did not recognize. It was the best scent I'd ever smelled in my life. I heard a girl scream and started running in the direction of the scream, noticing that the wonderful scent was coming from the same direction as well as the scent of the werewolves. I pushed myself to run faster at this realization. I arrived at a small clearing where I saw 2 of those mutts circling a tree and barking at it. I looked up and saw the most beautiful girl I have ever seen. She could not have been any older than 15 or 16 and she had long dark brown wavy hair, a heart-shaped face with flawless skin and the most beautiful chocolate brown eyes. I wondered what the 2 mutts wanted with the girl. I was going to find out. Hey! I shouted. The 2 mutts and the girl turned to look at me. What do you want, bloodsucker? One of the mutts asked. I think you should leave the girl alone, I said, growling at them. And what are you going to do if we don't? The other mutt asked, smirking. I growled at them, quickly attacking the one closest to me. I threw him into a tree on the other side of the clearing. That was when all the fighting began. The other werewolf jumped on me, trying to bite me. I kicked him in the stomach and he flew a few feet from me. The fight went on for a couple of minutes before the mutts gave up trying to fight me and ran off. I turned around and saw that the girl had climbed down the tree, hiding behind it. Hey, I'm Edward. You can come out now, they're gone, I said gently. The girl slowly stepped around the tree. Hi. I'm Bella. Thank you so much for saving Em. Her voice was like bells and her name fit her perfectly, not to be rude or anything but... What are you? I mean, you're not a human, vampire or werewolf, so? I questioned her. I really wanted to know what this beautiful creature was, but I was afraid I offended her. I was relieved when she giggled at my question. I'm a shapeshifter, she replied with a small smile. And flashback. I was pulled out of my memories by arms encircling my neck and light feather kisses being pressed to my skin. I turned around and stared into those beautiful, chocolate brown eyes. Hey! I missed you, she whispered, nuzzling into my neck. I lifted her so she was sitting on my lap. I then kissed her all over her face before kissing her passionately on the lips. She pulled away first and rested her forehead against mine. I missed you too, love. I whispered back. I kissed her again, but this time it got more heated and before I knew it I was hovering over Bella with my shirt unbuttoned. Bella's shirt was thrown on the floor and I sucked lightly on Bella's neck. We were both breathless. Our breaths leaving our mouths in short pants. My hands traveled down Bella's body and ripped off her pants along with the rest of her clothes and mane. The only thing that could be heard was our sounds of pleasure bouncing off the walls. An hour and a half later, We were laying on the floor on dozens of pillows and blankets in front of the roaring fire in the living room. I was lying on my back with Bella laying on my chest having a little nap. I had worn her out, I smirked to myself. I was so lucky to have her in my life, even if it was not all the time. But that will change soon. I pulled Bella close to me when she started to wake up. Her chocolate eyes fluttered and lit up when they landed on me. "Hey," she whispered softly. "Hey," I whispered back before leaning down to give her a kiss. "I love you. I love you too." We continued to kiss and cuddled for a few minutes, and I was about to start a new round of passionate sex, when Rosalie burst through the door. "What the hell are you doing?" she screamed. Edward POV. I quickly got off Bella and covered her with one of the blanket that we were laying on. Then, I looked at the surprised faces of my family. There was nothing but silence for a couple of minutes before Emmett broke it. "I think it is safe to say that Edward is not a virgin anymore," he said with a goofy smile. "Emmett," Rosalie said sternly, "this is not the time to make jokes." She glared at him and then turned to me. "So this is what you have been doing for the last 3 years, sleeping with some cheap whore. You better watch what you are saying, Barbie." "I am not a whore," Bella said, standing up wrapping the blanket around herself. "That is what you look like from where I'm standing," Rosalie said, crossing her arms over her chest, glaring at Bella. "Well, maybe you should get all the facts right before insulting people as if you know everything," Bella said, glaring back at Rosalie. "Is it wrong that I am a little turned on by Bella right now? She is just so hot and sexy when she is angry. Why don't we all sit down and talk calmly about this?" Carlisle said, trying to calm everyone. Everyone agreed with a small nod. Bella and I went to our bedroom to put on some clothes, not before picking up the clothes we had torn around the room. Bella and I sat on the love seat and my family was sitting on the L-shaped couch in front of us. SM was the first to speak. "So Edward, would you like to tell us what is going on?" Her mind was filled with hope and happiness, hoping that I'd found my mate. "Well, guys, I would like you to meet Bella Swan, my mate," I said, smiling at Bella. "Hi," Bella said with a small wave. She was so cute. "Bella, this is my family. Alice, Jasper, Emmett, Rosalie, SM and Carlisle." "Hey," everyone said except Rosalie, who was still being her self-centered self. Everyone else was slowly getting more comfortable. "Actually, I already met Carlisle and SM when I was younger," Bella said. Confusion crossed Carlisle and SM's faces before they realized where they'd met her. In their minds I saw a cute little girl running around. She looked a lot like a younger version of Bella, and I guess they'd met Bella when she was 3 or 4. "Isabella?" SM whispered. Bella nodded a little and SM got up from the couch, walking over to sit beside Bella. "You've grown up so beautifully. And you're Edward's mate. I always thought that you'd be perfect for Edward. Oh, this is like a dream come true." SM was beaming at this point. Can someone explain what is going on?" Jasper said, looking confused. "Well, remember 15 years ago when SM and I said we had to go help some old friends of ours?" Carlisle asked. Everyone nodded. "Well, they were Bella's parents. You see, they are shapeshifters, and as you know, there was a war between the werewolves and the shapeshifters. When we heard about the war, we offered them some help. They stayed on Alizem for a couple of days before they left to help with the war. While they went, we stayed with Bella and her 2 older brothers, Charlie and Renee. Bella's parents came back a month later, saying that the war was over and that there were communities all over the world that were being built for shapeshifters so that they could stay grouped together in large groups." "So, you're a shapeshifter?" Emmett asked Bella. Yes. So that means you can change into any animal in the world?" he asked. "Yes," Bella replied. "Cool," was Emmett's oh-so-intelligent reply, "but only after she finishes aging. Before then, it is a little harder to change on demand. It takes practice," Carlisle said. "I already stopped aging," Bella said. "Really?" SM and Carlisle said together, surprised. "How does that work?" "The whole aging shapeshifter thing, and how do you become a shapeshifter?" Alice asked Bella. "Well, you can't become a shapeshifter. You're born a shapeshifter. As for the aging thing, when a shapeshifter is growing up, his or her shapeshifting ability and power, if he or she has one, is not very strong. But when they reach a certain age, which is normally between 19 and 27, they stop aging and their powers are stronger. They become immortal. Bella said, "Back up there for a moment. Born? Shapeshifters can get pregnant? How is that fair? I mean, those dirty mutts can have children and now so can shapeshifters?" Rosalie screeched. "Why can't vampires have children?" "Well, that is because that is how it is. It is how the wizard made us." "Don't you know the legend?" Bella said slowly. "Legend? What legend?" Rosalie continued to scream. "The legend about how werewolves, vampires and shapeshifters came to exist," Carlisle whispered. Edward POV. Rosalie's head turned to Carlisle. "What?" "Well, there is a legend of how vampires, shapeshifters and werewolves came to exist. I never told the story because I don't really know it. I only know a wizard turned two men into a werewolf and a vampire as punishment for their sins." Carlisle said, "I know the story, I can tell it if you guys want." Bella asked, looking around the room. Everyone nodded. "Yeah. Story time," Emmett shouted before jumping on the floor and sitting in front of Bella. He looked like a 4-year-old waiting for someone to tell him a story. Em got up to sit beside Carlisle, but before she did, her maid Bella promised to talk to her and tell her what has been happening since the last time they saw each other. "I don't know where to start," Bella said. "Why don't you start when William and Sam leave their village?" I said, kissing her on the temple. "You know the story?" Carlisle asked. "Yes, I do," Bella told me, I said, feeling cocky and slightly superior to my father figure in that moment. "Can all of you shut up? I want to hear the story today, not in 10 years." "And Eddie, no spoilers," Emmett whined. "Okay, so here is the story." Bella started. "A long time ago there were two friends, William and Sam. They grew up together in the same village, did everything together. One day when William was 21 and Sam was 24, they decided to leave the village together to explore the world. It took a lot to convince their parents, but after a while their parents agreed to let them go. They walked and explored during the day and slept in caves at night. One day they heard a beautiful voice singing. They followed the voice and they found the most beautiful girl washing clothes in the river. They introduced themselves to her and learned that her name was Penelope. She invited William and Sam to stay at her house with her and her parents for as long as they wanted. On the way to Penelope's village, William and Sam both noticed that the other was interested in Penelope, so they made a pact to not go after Penelope. William and Sam stayed at Penelope's house and did not make any passes at Penelope. But what William didn't know was that Sam was actually making passes at Penelope. One day Penelope was hanging clothes up on a line. She was standing on a small stool when she fell off. William, who was walking by, rushed to her to help her up. William helped Penelope with the rest of the laundry. After they finished, Penelope asked William why he was ignoring her and if she did anything wrong. William told her everything, that both him and Sam liked her and about the pact, and Penelope told him that Sam has been flirting with her since they got here. At that moment William had never been so mad in his life before. He really loved Penelope and wished he had never trusted Sam. But all that anger dissolved when Penelope said that she didn't care about Sam and that she loved him. William kissed Penelope as soon as she said those words. Sam, who was hiding behind a tree the whole time, ran to William and started fighting with him. Sam was shouting that William had stolen his girl. The village chief threw Sam out of the village and told him never to return. As time went by, William's and Penelope's love grew stronger each day. When one day William got down on one knee and asked Penelope to marry him, their wedding was the talk of the village. Sam had found another village close to Penelope's village and had convinced the men of the village to go to war with the other village. Sam had sent a messenger to Penelope's village to tell William that he was declaring war against him. Almost all the men in Penelope's village offered to help William. Penelope begged William not to go, but he said that he had to go to protect her. Before he left, Penelope made him promise to come back to her alive. The battle was hard and men on both sides were dying. A passing wizard had interrupted the battle, saying that killing each other was not the answer. So as punishment he turned all of the surviving men who were with Sam into werewolves, big beasts that were ruled by their anger and pride, two of the most deadly sins, and greed. And all the surviving men who were with William into vampires for their anger. After the wizard had explained what they had become, the werewolves ran off and most of the vampires ran off too. William invited the wizard to stay in their village for a while. When William, the remaining vampires and the wizard arrived at the village, everybody ran to them. William spent hours just holding Penelope. That night there was a party for the men who had returned from battle and a memorial for those who hadn't. William and the remaining men told the village about the battle and what they had become. Penelope begged William to turn her, but he did not want her to be in pain, so he asked the wizard to turn Penelope into a vampire. The wizard would not turn Penelope into a vampire, a creature he tough-flawed, but he said he would do something else. The wizard turned Penelope and the rest of the human villagers into shapeshifters, creatures he had made to perfection, a blend between his previous creations. The wizard went around the world stopping in villages to turn them into werewolves, vampires or shapeshifters to expand his creations. William and Penelope later discovered that the vampires can't have children, but a vampire and a shapeshifter, if the vampire is male and the shapeshifter is female, they can conceive children. They had a boy named Chris and 2 girls named Ashley and Raven, so that is the legend. Any questions? Bella said, Edward POV. So that is the story. Any questions? Bella said, at some time during the story I had moved so that I was lying down on the couch with my head in Bella's lap. Her right hand was tangled in my hair, massaging my hand, and I was playing with her left hand. Every once in a while I would circle her 4th finger as if there was a ring there. I couldn't wait to put a ring on her finger, but I wanted her father's permission first. I have a question? But it is not about the story, Jasper said, and Bella nodded at him to continue. You two have been together for 3 years, and I am guessing by the position you were in and from your emotions I felt when we got here you've had sex, and you said that shapeshifters can get pregnant. So I am guessing you two have a kid. Bella blushed and looked away. No, we don't, she said, still blushing. I could see Rosalie smirking, thinking that Bella couldn't get pregnant. I glared at her and she quickly looked away. At least not yet, I said, smiling up at Bella, then leaned up to give her a loving kiss. It is a little more complicated for a shapeshifter to get pregnant. In the supernatural world, werewolves can only have children with another werewolf, and in my story there are female werewolves, and female vampires can't get pregnant. But a male vampire and a female shapeshifter can have children. Shapeshifters can only have children with their mate. When shapeshifters meet their mate, like vampire, they both mark their mate with a bite to the neck. There is some sort of hormone that is in the male saliva that awakens the reproductive system of the female shapeshifter, then the female shapeshifter can get pregnant. But they also have to have finish aging. I haven't bitten Bella yet because I want her parents to meet me first. So you two are planning to have children? Azam asked with a big smile on her face, her mind filled with different images of babies that were mixtures of Bella and me, and I couldn't help but wonder what our kids will look like. Bella and I looked at each other with love in our eyes. I sat up from Bella's lap and curled her into my side and rested her head on my chest. Yes, we are. We just need my parents to meet Edward before, and if they don't accept him, that is not my problem. I will still be with Edward. No one will separate us, Bella said, wrapping her arms around me. You got that right, I said, kissing her. So we were all created because 2 men a long time ago got into a fight over a girl? Asked Emmett. Basically, Bella said. Why doesn't the vampire world know about this? Asked Japer. Only a few vampires know about it because it is harder to pass on this story between vampires because they normally travel in small groups, opposed to the shapeshifter and werewolves that live in communities/villages in secluded mountains and islands and that pass along the story from generation to generation. I remember when I was younger my mother would tell my brothers Stephen and Damon and I the story as a bedtime story, Bella said, smiling at the end, remembering her childhood. I could see in her mind different moments in her past, then changing into what our future could be like. Bella and me holding our child for the first time, checking for monsters under the stairs, and so many more. That will be as soon, Bella said in her mind, smiling at me. I loved when she opened her mind to me. It is so annoying that the only mind that I want to read is the only mind I can't read whenever I want. Edward's Povey could see in her mind different moments in her past, then changing into what our future could be like. Bella and I holding our child for the first time, checking for monsters under the stairs, and so much more. That will be as soon, Bella said in her mind, smiling at me. I loved when she opened her mind to me. It is so annoying that the only mind that I want to read is the only mind I can't read whenever I want to. So do you have any cool powers? Emmett asked in his loud booming voice, still sitting on the floor in front of Bella. Yeah, I can control the elements and move things with my mind. I also have a mind shield that drives Edward crazy. Bella said, looking up at me with a smug smile. That is so cool. So can control fire and stuff? Emmett asks. Bella nodded her head yes at him. But wait, you said mind shield. Does that mean that Edward can't read your mind? Bella's smirk got bigger as she nodded. Yes, I responded in an annoyed tone. What the fuck? Emmett screamed. How is that fair? Just ignore him, Bella, Alice said in laughter. He is just mad he can never beat Edward in a fight because he knows his every move. Everyone then proceeded to laughter at Emmett's annoyed face. Except Rosalie, who was still sulking and huffing every now and again for someone to pay attention to her instead of Bella. Not gonna happen, Barbie. What about Penelope and William? Are they still alive? All I can do is smirk at Jasper's question. Yes, they are. They just like to keep to themselves, Bella said quickly. Cool. So the first vampire and shapeshifter are still alive and reproducing? Emmett trailed off, looking far off. Yeah, basically, but not as frequently as before. As time goes on, a female shapeshifter's ability to go into heat decreases. They can still get pregnant, but they are very far in between each other. Bella said, looking anywhere but at my family. She seriously wasn't going to say that she is a descendant of Penelope and William. I thought it was pretty cool that my mate was a descendant of the first shapeshifter. I remember her telling me that she was Penelope's great whatever granddaughter. Penelope and William were created in the 1200s BC, so that is a lot of greats. She also said that because of her ancestry, it made her more attractive to male shapeshifters. Not they needed any more convincing to go after her. She was breathtakingly beautiful. I tightened my arms around her at the thought of some hormonally charged shapeshifter putting his hands on my Bella. Do you know them? Have you met them? Do you know one of their descendants? Alice rambled. And I couldn't help but chuckle, and I could see Carlisle and Esm holding in their laughter. They obviously knew too. What? Why are you laughing? It's because you are looking at one of them, replied Carlisle, chuckling. Looking at one of what? One of the descendants. I replied. Bella? Jasper whispered. Yeah? I am Penelope and William's great whatever granddaughter, she said, blushing bright red. Awesome, so you are like a sort of a princess? Emmett said. Yeah? Sort of. Bella sounded wearily to answer him. Not sure where he was going with his train of thought. But after living with Emmett for years, I knew where he was going with this. So Edward? Emmett said, looking at me. Have you and your little mate ever role-played the princess and the stable boy? He grinned at me, wiggling his eyebrows. If it was even possible, Bella's cheeks got even redder. But me, I was just grinning, remembering the time we did play princess and the stable boy. I was between her beautiful long legs that were bent at the knee, licking up the wetness dripping from her center like a man in the desert who just found water. Bella was moaning, her head thrown back against the headboard of the bed she was leaning on. Her eyes were closed shut. Her hair in a mess around her. She was the perfect image of pleasure. While one of her arms was extended over her head clutching the headboard, the other was clutching the hair on the back of my head, pushing my face toward dripping core while she thrust her hips up at me. If I was human, I probably would have died of suffocation. But I don't think any man would mind dying that way. You taste so good, princess, I moaned into her as I slipped 2 fingers inside of her, curling them to hit her G-spot. As I looked up at her, as I touched her G-spot, her back arched and she let out the biggest moan as she come all over my fingers. I kept sliding my fingers in and out of her as she rode out her orgasms. When she was done, her body collapsed on the bed, panting. You make me feel so good, she said, looking at me with half-closed eye. She reached down and caressed my cheek softly. My little stable boy. You've made me feel so good. I should reword why. Smack. I was brought out of my thought by a hand hitting me at the back of my head. What? I said. Edward, we have been calling your name for 5 minutes. Bella told me, putting her hand back down. Interesting trail of emotions there, Edward. Jasper chuckled. By the way, you may want to cover your lap. I looked out and saw that I had pitched a tent in my pants. I quickly grabbed the pillow to cover it up. I think that answers my question, Emmett said, looking at me like a proud big brother. He stood up and grabbed me into a bone-crushing hug. And there goes my boner. I am so proud of you, little bro. You are finally becoming a man. Not only did you get a beautiful little mate, but you got yourself a princess. He pulled back from the hug, and wiggling his eyebrows at Bella, Edward, if you ever need advice on how to please your woman, just come talk to me. Thanks but no thanks, Emmett, but Edward pleases me plenty, Bella said, smirking at him. Sometimes he's a bit too much for me to handle. She looked up at me, raising an eyebrow. I want you upstairs and naked in all your heart and glory, my little love said in her mind. She then decided to torture me with images of what she wanted to do to me and what she wanted me to do to her. The look she was giving me was one of pure lust. And taking a deep breath, I could smell her getting wet. I could feel my eyes going black. So Edward, you have been with little Bella here for 3 years and you have never told us about her. You must be ashamed of her. Rosalie smirked at Bella. Bella hissed and I growled at Rosalie. Shut up, Rosalie. I am tired of your bitchiness. I continued to growl. Bella now had to restrain me. It's time that you realize that the world doesn't revolve around you. Are you forgetting that I can read minds, you ungrateful bitch? And no, I am not ashamed of her. My rage was just escalating at this point. The reason I never told you guys was because I wanted her to myself. I only got her for very short periods of time and I only wanted her attention on me and no one else. I know it's selfish, but she is my mate and I am allowed to be selfish with her, I said, looking down at her, seeing love and lust reflect in her eyes. And I think it's time for you to leave. You can come back tomorrow afternoon. Right now I want some time with my mate. Carlisle and Etham immediately agreed to leave, especially with the invitation to come tomorrow. The others, on the other hand, disagreed and started to protest. But Etham gave them the mom look. And that shut them all up. Everyone got up to leave. Etham hugged Bella and then ran home ahead of the others. She was hiding something. Make sure to knock before you come in this time, okay guys, I said before they all walked out the door. I turned to Bella and took her in my arms and buried my face in her hair. Finally, alone. I pulled her hair off her shoulder and started pressing open-mouthed kisses from her ear to her shoulder. She moaned softly in my ear and pressed her magnificent body to mine. I think you should take me to our bedroom so we can do naughty things. In seconds I had us upstairs and her clothes ripped to shreds on the floor. I was already rock hard. She started caressing my chest, moving up to my face, tracing the lines on my face. She leaned up and kissed me. I cupped the back of her head to hold her to me as I shifted my body to lie on top of her, cradled between her beautiful long legs. I love you, we whispered at the same time. Our eyes locked as I pushed myself into her and we both moaned at the connection of our bodies. We made slow, passionate love for hours, whispering our love for each other until we collapsed on the bed, panting. We were laying side by side, Bella cradled into my chest. Edward? Bella said softly. Yes, my love? Why was Rosalie so bitter? I drew in a deep breath. This was going to be a difficult conversation. She's just jealous of your love. Why would she be jealous of me? Because you are breathtakingly beautiful, I say, brushing hair out of her face. You can get pregnant and you have me. What do you mean she is jealous because I have you? Does she want you? I swear I will rip her to pieces if she comes near you. I smiled down at her. Calm down, my little tigress. I kissed her nose. No, she doesn't want me. But she just said. She trailed off. She's just mad that I was never attracted to her. It wounded her pride. I looked at her and pulled her on top of me so that she was straddling my stomach, but just in case, I think you should show me just how much I belong to you. I say, smirking, lifting her hips and then slamming her back down on my hard cock. Already ready for round 2, I see Bella moan, looking down at me. After 2 more rounds, Bella was all but passed out and I just lay next to her, cuddling her to my chest. She doesn't really need to sleep anymore since she stopped aging, but I really gave her a workout yesterday and I couldn't be more proud of myself. She would whisper my name from time to time coupled with I love yous, and it just made my heart harm at the thought that she was dreaming of me. It was now 8:30 a.m. and my family was coming at 12 o'clock. I said afternoon, so I am sure they will be here on the dot. I wanted a bit more time with her, and for that I need her to wake up. So I cradled under the blankets. We were both still naked, and I positioned myself between her legs, and I could smell and see that she was turned on. So I only assumed she was having a really good dream about me. It was dripping down her thighs and I needed a taste, so I ran my tongue along her slit. With one hand, I spread her beautiful, pink pussy. I plunged a finger into her slick folds and pulled her clit between my lips. Fuck, she teased so good. She moaned and I saw her eyes flutter open. Oh Edward, what are y'all? Fuck, she couldn't even form a proper sentence. I began pumping more fiercely. I added a second finger and swirled my tongue around her clit. I curled my fingers in her body and she began rocking against my hands and face. I reluctantly removed my face from her pussy to look up at her body mooning and trashing around. I started pumping my now 3 fingers faster and harder. Come for me, Isabella, I whispered to her, and that was all it took for her. Her back arched of the bed as she screamed my name. I kept pumping my fingers slowly in and out of her to prolong the orgasm. When she finally came down from her high, her body relaxed on the bed in a panting mess. Her eyes were closed and her chest was taking in deep breaths that she didn't really need. I gave her one last kiss on her still moist lips and laid my head on her stomach and looked up at her, catching her breath. Now that is what I call a wake-up call, she said, smiling while opening her beautiful eyes. Good morning, handsome, she said while moving hair out of my eyes and then wiping a bit of leftover of her juices on the corner of my mouth with her thumb, which I then proceed to take into my mouth. At which she giggled. Hey, don't bomb me, but my mother always told me not to waste any food. Did you have a nice sleep, love? I said as I kissed her stomach and moved up her body, then gave her a proper good morning kiss. This turned us both even more on. Bella's legs opened to cradle me between them and then wrapped them around my waist. I reached between us and grabbed my hard cock and ran it on her clit in tight circles. As she threw her head back, breaking our kiss. EDW, oh God isn't the one giving you this pleasure, I am. I think the least you can do is give me the credit, I smirked. She tried to talk, but I pressed the head of my cock harder on her clit, which only proceeded more moaning from both of us. Enough teasing, I thought. I need to be inside her, now. I positioned my hard member right at her entrance. I love you, beautiful, I whispered. I pushed my cock into her warm, tight pussy. I rotated my hips and pushed deeper into her. Her hands moved to my hair and she kissed me, whispering her love to me. Her hips moved with mine, pushing my cock deeper into her. Edward, she moaned against my lips. I could feel her muscles move against my cock. She was close. Come with me, Bella. I want to hear you scream my name, I growled, rolling us so that she was on top. Oh, God. Faster, she said, leaning back on my legs. I moved my hips at a blurring speed, obliging her request. I reached between us and pinched her clit with my hand. Edward. Oh God. Her muscles clenched and she screamed. I thrust into her a few more times and my dick twitched, spilling into her. I fell back onto the pillows, bringing Bella with me. She lay on my chest, still connected to me in the most intimate of ways. She pressed a kiss above my dead heart, and whispered, I love you, my vampire. I love you more, my shapeshifter. She cuddled into my chest and I kissed the top of her head and wrapped my arms around her, trapping her playfully. This caused her to laugh. Good, I love to make her laughter. When is your family coming? She asked, snuggling more into my chest. I turned my head to look at the clock on my side of the bed. In 30 minutes I held her tighter as she tried to pull away from me. She got up and went to the walk-in closet to get her clothes. I watched my beautiful girl as she moved gracefully through the room. Are you done ogling, Edward? She teased as she slipped into the bathroom. No. I'll never be done ogling, I said, folding my arms behind my head, enjoying the show, but I would prefer she was doing the opposite of what she was doing, with some music with a good beat. How do I smell? She said, standing in front of the bed. You smell like a perfect mix of you and me. Maybe I should shower. I probably smell like sex. No, you smell fine, I said, getting up and kissing her. Edward, HMMM? I wasn't really paying attention as I trailed kisses down her neck to the swells of her chest. Baby, we don't have to I was starting to think I was whining, but suddenly I was on the floor with Bella saddling my chest, holding my arms on both sides of my face. You've had your fun. We don't have time. So now get dressed. I am going to make some breakfast, she said, smiling down at me. One more kiss, I begged, puckering my lips at her. She rolled her chocolate pulls at me and leaned down for one last kiss. I started to try and take her clothes off again, but she disappeared from being on top of me in a second. I looked around the room and saw her disappearing from at the doorway. Get dressed, Edward, she called out as she walked into the kitchen. I was walking around the corner, pulling on a V-neck shirt, when I heard a knock at the door. I knew it was Emmett because it was a ridiculous beat. Can you get that, baby? No problem, babe. I walked to the door and Emmett finally stopped knocking. Hey guys. Thank you for knocking this time, I said as they came in. I hugged Esm, who was carrying a CD folder. What do you have that? Oh, you will see, son. I closed the door and turned to face everyone. Bella is just making some breakfast. Edward, you dog, you smell like sex. That is a scent I thought I would never smell on you. In fact, the whole cottage smells like sex. Opening the windows is not gonna do much. We can all still smell your activities. He grinned. I guess after we left, you and your little mate had some fun. God, did you even let the poor girl rest? I bet you only let her out of bed 5 minuets before we got here. He kept going. That's enough, Emmett, leave your brother alone, Carlisle said with authority. But he couldn't keep the smile off his face. I am so happy for your son. Even in your human life I never saw you this happy. Thank you, Carlisle, I said, smiling. I looked at Bella in the kitchen talking to Alice like they knew each other their whole lives. Then I looked to Esm, who was sitting in the armchair in the living room going through the CD folder. Seriously, Esm, what is with the folder? Esm looked up, smiling at just some videos of Bella throughout the years. That caught Bella's attention. What? Bella exclaimed. Well, after we took care of you, Esm practically demanded that your parents send news on you and your brothers. Like your achievement and stuff like that, Carlisle said. No, Bella whispered. No, she continued. You're not talking about videos like, oh yes, little princess videos like that, Carlisle chuckled. Bella's eyes widened and looked at Esm. Now I was very curious to see what was on those CDs. Bella walked up to Esm with pleading eyes. Esm, please don't show Edward the videos. But Bella, you are so cute. I am sure Edward would love to see them. Bella just kept shaking her head. Please, if you don't, I will name our first daughter after you. Bella was getting really desperate. But babe, I thought we were naming our first. Shut up, Edward, she interrupted me. Bella, don't worry, I'm sure Edward will find you adorable, Esm said, smiling while walking to the DVD player and putting in a DVD. Edward, if you don't watch the video, I will put on that outfit that you really like tonight, Bella said, trying to seduce me with images of said outfit. Love, all you are doing is making me want to watch the videos even more, I said, laughing. What are we watching? Emmett asked. Just some videos Bella and her brothers when they were younger. At that, Bella groaned. This is going to be fun, I thought. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Bye. The end.